Om Shri Sai Ram. Sai Ram, dear brothers and sisters, welcome to the 27th edition of Samarpan program here at Sarvadharma Service Center in Farmingdale Borough, Howell Township, New Jersey, United States. Today, I have the honor to introduce our Samarpan speaker for the month of February 2025, is our own dear brother, Ravi Ghandikota. As you all know, we have heard from his two other brothers earlier, Brother Ariyama Ghandikota and Brother Sanjay Ghandikota. But this family has been having so much proximity to Bhagwan, as you will hear from each one of them. Each has its own experiences, which is very unique. And we thought we'll share all the experiences. It's really Swami's experiences more than the brothers' experiences. So we all can get some lessons out of it and inspirations out of it. So as part of that series, today we have our brother Ravi Ghandikota. Brother Ravi is the grandson of the late Sri Ghandikota Subramanya Shastri Garu, who is an eminent Vedic scholar and who, as we all know, was the revealer of the Sai Gayatri, which we all chant every day, every hour, every minute, at somewhere in one part of the world or the other. He is the fourth son of late Srimati Lakshmi Devi and Sri Ghandikota V. Subbarao Garu, who also we all know has been very close to Sarvadharma for many decades, who was a retired senior United Nations official and was the revealer of the Sai Surya Gayatri, Sai Hiranya Gayatri, and Sai Chakra. Some of it will be displayed at the foot of the Bhagwan's photo here, and footstool here. We already had, as we said before, the privilege of Brother Sanjay and Ariyama. Brother Ravi was born and brought up in New York and had the privilege of joining Swami's College at Prashanti Nilayam in 1981, completing his bachelor's and master's degrees in commerce and business in 1986. During his studies, he participated in sports in Swami's presence and was involved in various hostel self-reliance programs. Brother Ravi was blessed to receive the gold medal for Best All-Round Student from Swami's Divine Hands in 1985 during Swami's 60th birthday celebrations. At Swami's command, Brother Ravi had the privilege to serve as a lecturer in commerce from 1986 to 1992 at the Brindavan campus of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. He also had the opportunity to take photos of Bhagwan during his years as a student and a lecturer. What a divine blessing that is. Swami performed Brother Ravi's wedding to Sister Ahladni, along with his brother Sanjay's wedding to Sister Sumana, both being daughters of Srimati Kasturi and Sri Erapalli Satyamurti Garu, a former trust convener and state president of the Sri Sathya Sai organization of Andhra Pradesh, and the marriage happened in 1990 in Brindavan. At Swami's direction, Brother Ravi and Sister Ahladini moved to the United States in 1992 and currently live in Monroe, New Jersey, with their son Sai Chiranjeevi and daughter Manarmukhi, who are both named by Swami. Brother Ravi is active in the Sai Center of Edison and in the region, and also at Sarvadharma Service Center, as we all know. He currently teaches SSC Bal Vikas group and students and is actively involved in various seva activities. Brother Ravi is a senior director at S&P Global Market Intelligence in Strategic Accounts team. He has been in the financial information field for close to 30 years. With this, I'd like to invite Brother Ravi to the podium and request him to share with us his experience with Swami for the next 70 minutes or so. Welcome, Brother Ravi. Sai Ram.
Om Sri Sai Ram. My prayerful and reverential pranams at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Swami. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, Sai Ram to all of you. Thank you, Brother Sai, for the invitation, and thank you, Sarvadharma Center, for the invitation to come here and recollect, relive, and cherish the moments that I've had with Swami. These moments that Swami gives us to think of him, speak of him, are something that I really cherish because it allows me to go back in time to those blissful moments with Swami. Today, I'd like to take you all through a photographic journey. As Brother Sai mentioned, I had the opportunity to take photos of Swami while I was there as a student and as a lecturer. I was born and brought up here, as Sai mentioned, and we've been going to Swami ever since I was a child, and before that, grandfather and parents have been going since the late 50s. And for me, and like for all of us, Swami's God. Whenever I prayed as a child, it was to Swami. But when I joined there in 1981, I'm ever grateful, first of all, to Swami for giving me the chance to be a part of his presence there and to be in his midst. And I'm ever grateful to my parents. Swami says, it is the mother who shows the child the father. It is the father who shows the child the guru. And it is the guru who shows the child God. In this case, my parents showed me God straight away. And I'm ever grateful to them for that chance. From the day I joined there in Puttaparthi as a student in 1981, thankfully I had the good sense to realize that being with Swami is a whole different experience, that I was a contemporary of the avatar. And not that I had a great realization, but at least I had the good sense to understand that while I'm there, I have to do what I can to record, to cherish the moments with the Lord. And so again, I'm grateful to my parents and then to my elder brothers, Arima, Ramesh, Manohar, all of them supporting me while I'm there to take photos of Swami. Back in the 1980s in Puttaparthi and India, it was not easy to take pictures and get them developed in a timely fashion. We all know with Swami, everything is fresh. Swami was fresh whenever he came out for darshan. Whenever food is served at Narayan Sevas, it's got to be fresh. Same thing with photographs, it's got to be fresh. You can't take a picture and give it to Swami a month later or a year later. It has to be immediate. And so in those days, it was very difficult. And again, I'm grateful to Swami for the chance, and then I'm grateful to my parents and brothers for sending cameras, film, and giving me the chance to just get them developed without any questions asked. And Swami giving the chance to take pictures. Honestly, taking any pictures of Swami is really his gift, not anything I did. And any photographer will tell you that. My brother Sanjay had the good fortune to take videos of Swami for the years he was there and afterwards, and Swami allowed us to take pictures even when we used to visit from here. And same thing for me, he gave me the chance to take his pictures. Again, I wanted to, in some very small way, capture the Lord for posterity. Now that sounds like a pretty grandiose statement, right? How can I capture the Lord? But no, it is our own way of connecting with him. So today I'd like to take you on a photographic journey with Swami. And the lessons learned from those experiences. So I'll use these photos as experiences, as opportunities to recollect those divine teachings. Every moment with Swami was an education. It is verily true to say that living with Swami is education, because every act is pre-planned and has a purpose. So I'll take you on a journey with the photographs and these experiences. I'll also talk about, the Veda Purusha. Why the Veda Purusha during a talk about photography? Well, I'll show you some pictures of Dasra Yajnas, but this is the time Atirudra Mahayajna is going on in Prashantanilayam. It happened here at Sarvadharma Center last year, and Shivratri is coming up next week. So I did want to speak a little bit about that. Then ultimately, Seva. I'd like to set something straight right up front here. Yes, I'm the grandson of a great Vedic sage and Pandit. That Swami said he's a sage, not me. But I know zero of the Vedas. And so I'd like to level set everything here that I'm not a scholar. I don't know Sanskrit. I don't know Telugu reading or writing. And, on one of the trips to Kodaikanal that Swami most graciously took me along with some lecturers and students from Vrindavan to Kodaikanal. On the way, we stopped in Uti. And Swami had a school there for the little kids. And I can never forget the scene in the morning. Swami comes down from his room. He's standing behind the curtain there and just opened the curtain a little bit. And he was watching about 300-400 little children from 5 to 10-year-old children in one voice, all wearing the uniform orange sweaters and they were sitting there. And before Swami came to give darshan, they were all sitting and chanting Vedas with one voice. And Swami was standing behind the curtain, lest he come and disturb these students. And he was looking at him. It was like the Lord in Vaikuntha watching what was going on. Then he came and he blessed all the students. And then afterwards, he did a lot of things. But then at the end, he came and we were all sitting at the back. Then he came to some of the students and asked, "You chant something." Some of the college students. And they chanted. Some said they didn't know how to chant. Then I was thinking at the back of my mind very foolishly, "Swami, please don't come and ask me because I cannot chant." And I'll admit it. It's one thing with Swami is honesty. Be honest. But I was thinking, "Swami, don't ask." Well, when you say don't ask, he's going to come and ask. If you say ask, he won't come and ask. So it's like, it's his will and wish. So I was sitting there, and then he came up and he said, "Nujappu." Then I knew a little bit, but coming from the U.S., I was born and brought up here, and it's not an excuse. It is my own failing, but my mouth couldn't turn properly with the accent, with the lack of experience, whatever, and I will confess, lack of diligence on my part. I never learned. So I didn't want to say anything badly, any of the chanting. So I just said, "Swami, I can't chant." Then Swami looked at me and said, "Chi. Ghandikota Subramanya Shastri Manavadi, you can't even chant anything." I said, "Yes, Swami, forgive me." And that is the thing with Swami. You fall at his feet in forgiveness. He is Bolanath. He will make sure everything is fine. So, yes, it is. I got the Akshantalu. My father used to say, sometimes, when Swami shouts at somebody, it's actually Akshantalu falling on you. So I got the Akshantalu and I was very happy because I got the Akshantalu and I got his blessings. So anyway, I'll take you through a little bit of this journey through the experiences of grandfather and father as well with Swami on a Vedic front as well. And ultimately leading to Seva, which is near and dear to Swami. And I think when Brother Sai was playing today's quote from Prashant Nilyam, it was exactly this, that you want to be near and dear to God, go help others. And that is, and I remember, this is being here in this hallowed presence of Sarvadharma Center, looking at this altar, which reminds me always of Puttavarthi. I mean, this is such a great blessing we have here of this place. And it's been 10 years now, right? In March of this year, it's 10 years that the Sarvadharma Center was inaugurated and opened. And I remember the day Professor Anil Kumar Garu, in his, Swami's grace and his effort to come here all the way just to open this place. And I had the good fortune of hosting him at home, and he stayed in our house. And I remember him telling me in the evening, Ravi, chala bandi, the center chala bandi. Kutsante, it's like Puttavarthi. He was telling me when in his quiet moment before he was going to bed that one night, he was so happy to come here, and the vibrations, I feel so blessed here. So thank you all. So Swami is the divine photographer, if maybe you could put it on the screen here. The Swami is the one that, again, like I said, I never really did anything. It is Swami who is the real photographer. He captures our hearts and he captures us and takes us into him. And I don't know if you've all listened to the discourse that Swami gave. There's a recording of it online. It's a landmark discourse of Swami talking about his mission. In 1968, he gave this speech, and please, when you have a chance, search on it on YouTube and listen to it. It's a discourse where Swami starts off, but then Professor Kasturi Garu gives the English translation. But in one place, Swami says, I have come to give you the secret of the eternal existence. And again, I'm paraphrasing here. And then he says, all of you have come for tinsel and trash and petty cures. Yet very few have come to take from me what I've come for, which is enlightenment. And Swami is there as a divine photographer waiting to capture us. He's putting himself in our hearts. And then we have to be ready to go with him on this journey. And I think all of this is the path for us here. All the sadhana that we do, these are all opportunities for us to become near and dear to him. And I'm going to keep using the terms near and dear because ultimately that is the goal of life. If we become near and dear to him, then automatically we're in bliss. So this instance here happened, start off with a photography experience. So Swami took us in Kodaikanal to somebody's house, which was on the edge of a cliff. The garden was on the edge of the cliff, and you can see there, it was in the hills. It was a beautiful location. It was in a morning scene, beautiful sunlight, cool morning. Kodaikanal is cool, even in the summers. And we stood, if you can see in the picture there at the back, there's a little white strip. That's a little cement edge there of the garden. It's a rose garden there. And Swami stood at the edge of that and took pictures with all of us. One by one, we came and took pictures. It was a beautiful scene, fantastic. And so I was taking photographs. I had in those days, it's all 35mm film cameras, not digital. And they're very noisy because I had a motor drive also. Because a motor drive allows you to advance the frames without having to use your hand to slowly move it forward. Because when you're with Swami, you have to take things quickly. Don't waste his time. He's come here for so much, and we're here slowing him down is not good. So I had a motor drive, and so I had 2 cameras. So I always used to carry, thanks to my brothers and parents, 2 cameras. Each would carry 36 shots. The film had 36 frames. So I'd have at least at any time in my camera bag, 2 cameras, multiple lenses, zoom and wide angle lenses, and I'd have at least 10 to 12 rolls of film, so you can take at least 300 to 400 pictures. And then I'd have about 10 sets of batteries to put in the flash, because as you keep firing off these pictures from the camera, you take the photos from the flash, it's draining, and that too, when you do it continuously, drains it much faster. So you have to be able to switch batteries and switch film. So I'd always have two cameras, because you take 36, drop that camera, take the next camera, take another 36. 72 shots you can take without having to reload. And that way you can, when Swami says, come, take pictures, you're ready. This is the one lesson I learned from Swami taking his photos, is always be ready. And I think it's a lesson for us in life as well that I've taken along with me, that you have to be ready for that call. You have to be prepared too. If I'm there to take pictures and I don't have 10 rolls of film and 10 sets of batteries for the flash, I've not done my job. So whether we're doing seva, whether we're taking Balavika's classes or anything, we have to prepare. When Swami sent me to teach in Vrindavan, it was just after I finished my master's. His only instruction to me was go to 5 words, go to Vrindavan and teach. That's it. He did not tell me how to teach, what to teach. I should have known by then, after living with him for 5 years, that I should know what his expectations are. If we can live our life with the actions that would please Swami, everything falls into place. That was our only goal, and that was the only expectation from Swami, is do what he would expect. And we have to continue to keep doing that. And so again, I was there taking pictures of this. I keep digressing, I'm sorry. I move into different things because more experiences just keep entering the mind. So we were all taking pictures. I had this noisy camera, and there's Padmanabhan, very good photographer. Swami gave him great chances, gave him cameras and asked him to take pictures too. So you can listen to some of his talks. So there were 2 or 3 of us taking pictures. It was a very quiet scene. Swami finished all the pictures with individuals, and then he started walking the garden. Fantastic moment. Just close your eyes and visualize that. Then the only thing that was spoiling the moment was us with the cameras and the noisy motor drives. Then Swami looked at us and said, hey, so noisy. And he said, see how I take pictures. And so Swami, you'll see there's a rose there, yellow rose. And Swami said, see, this is how I take a picture. And he waved his hand in his usual, inimitable, glorious way. And usually when he's creating something, his hand would be down like this. But in this case, his hand was straight at that rose, and he waved like this, and he came up with that hologram you see there on the right side picture. And he said, this is how I take a picture, and he showed it to us. It was a beautiful moment to say, we were in creation that he created with the Creator. And he's creating a picture of a rose that he created and in a hologram that he created. And he gave it to one of the senior devotees. So it was a beautiful moment. And it was a lesson for us that, 1, always be ready. Number 2, he is the creator. We are nothing. This is another picture that I took. And why I wanted to put this in the beginning is, this is one of my favorite pictures of Swami, because Swami says, you look to me, I look to you. You take 1 step, he'll take 100. So this was an instance that happened in Vrindavan when I was a lecturer there. All the students had come one morning before going to college. When Swami was visiting Vrindavan, the students would come for darshan and sit in the driveway leading up to the front of Thrai Vrindavan, and waited for Swami for the beautiful darshan. So again, a beautiful Vrindavan morning, sun was coming down beautifully. Swami, the doors opened, the carved doors of Vrindavan opened up. Swami most beautifully just walked down the steps, went ahead and spoke to some students, and he would sign photographs that Swami, they would bring of Swami. These are the birthday boys who would sit up front. It was their birthday, so they'd have a tray of sweets and other things to give to Swami to bless. And they would give a photograph, and Swami would sign and give them a photograph. One quick experience there. So one student once asked me it was his birthday. It was 5 minutes before darshan that we had to go to darshan. And he comes to my room in the hostel and asked me, I was a lecturer there, he was a third year student, I think, and it was his last chance for like sitting up front for his birthday before he graduated and left. So he said, sir, I need a picture quick. I don't have a picture of Swami. And it just happened that all the photographs that I would print and keep just to give away to people, they were over. I didn't have anything except one picture that was in my own altar. And that was a picture of Swami leaning nicely on a Mercedes Benz that he had. It was a red Benz. And this was in Kodaikanal, and Swami just posed there, and we took some nice pictures. So I had that right in my altar. It was a private picture that I loved. And this boy asked, sir, I need a picture quick. I don't have one. How could I say no? So I took it out of the frame from my altar and gave it to him and said, okay, here. And I didn't think. And you would think it's nice. You did a great job giving a picture to him, right? But it was a little bit of a personal type of picture. So he went up, and this happened one morning, not the same morning I took this picture, but he was sitting there, and I would take all their students' pictures with my camera, and I would have my zoom lens, and I'd zoom in, and he sat up front, and he showed this picture to Swami. Then through my zoom lens, I zoomed in just only, I was standing about 50 feet away. And in the zoom lens, I zoomed in just on the student on his knees, holding the picture to Swami with a pen, and Swami only. And just as I zoomed in on that and about to take a picture, Swami looked at the picture, then looked at me like this, very sternly. I said, oh, something's not right. He signed the picture, then he looked back at the boy, smiled, signed the picture. Then he started walking. Then he looked at me and said, hey, shop kholo, which means in Hindi, kholo means, I guess, open. So open a shop. Now, naturally, I would take pictures, I'd print them out, I'd give to people, and I would never sell the pictures. That's impossible that I would ever do that. But the lesson there was, when you're with Swami, and when we are with Swami, we're in an organization, we have to be careful to make sure that we act with propriety in everything that we do. So it was not that I was selling the picture, no, far from that. It was just a lesson for me in future that whenever you're out there, don't just do things with the right heart, but see what others around you may think about that, because what we do reflects on Swami. When we do anything in his name, it reflects on us. Not just us, but it reflects on his organization. Now, nothing can taint Bhagavan, but from a worldly sense, we have to have that diligence. So, my mother and father used to always say, I'd take the pictures and I'd print out quite a lot of pictures and whatever picture like this, I'd print like 500 copies, small size. And I have some pictures here for everybody to take afterwards. But I'd offer it to Swami, and Swami would graciously take it. But once what happened was, I took a lot of pictures, and I had one of the other lecturers in the hostel, help me to quickly organize them so I could show them to Swami and put them in envelopes. That was the mistake. Because once I tried to give it to Swami, and Swami didn't take it. Then Swami said, you already showed it to everybody, right? When you do something, like I said before, it has to be fresh. Everything with Swami is fresh. He is fresh, and everything else around him is fresh. Once I've showed it to others, that freshness is gone. And so my mother and father used to always say, don't show us any pictures until you've printed them and given them to Swami, then only show it to us. And that was a lesson again with the freshness. Be fresh with anything that we do. If we're going to cook for seva, don't give them 2-day-old food or rice. It's got to be that morning, that day, fresh. We're buying bread or whatever it is, check the expiry date. So diligence is important. So again, freshness. So anyway, going back to this one picture. So that morning, Swami came down, blessed the students, and he was walking. Then I was standing behind the students and walking along with Swami. As Swami was walking down the driveway to go towards the Sairam shed to give darshan, he looked at me. And as he was walking, he turned his head like this and started staring into the camera. Now that day, I was just so, as I zoomed in on him through the lens, I was so mesmerized that I was just kept walking and zooming, and Swami was walking and zooming. We were both walking in parallel. And this went on for like 2, 3, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. And then finally, in my reverie of seeing him and the blissful smile, I just forgot to press the shutter button. And Swami waited all this time. That's his love, right? He could have just turned his head and walked, but he kept waiting till I pressed the button. And then when I woke up from my reverie and pressed the button, then he looked and he said, you wasted my time type thing, that type of expression. But it was his love, and so he gave this picture that way. So in so many instances, he would give pictures like this where he would just keep looking. And these are for us, not something that I took. This is something he gave. And they put this in books and other locations in Puttaparthi, but again, it is that love of the divine that the divine has for us to give himself to us for the future. I mean, Swami is the living, loving God, and I put this picture because this is in Vrindavan, and Swami is holding letters. And again, one of the pictures that I always liked, the smile, the letters signify that he's there for us to always listen to whatever we need. And it is our step to actually write to him, pray to him. Once in Vrindavan, when I was a lecturer there, I wrote a letter to Swami when I was in Vrindavan, and I sent it by registered mail. In those days, we used to send it by registered mail with acknowledgement due. It's a little card that you attach there. And we would get that card back to us with Swami's signature on it. They'd have actually a signature stamp for Swami. So when they go and the postman delivers it to Swami's door, one of the people inside would come and put a stamp on that card that had Swami's signature. So I sent that letter and forgot about it. And then a month later came to Puttaparthi. And it happened to me my birthday on that day. We were there for New Year, and it was the 30th of December. So it happened to be my birthday, but I sat in the back. I didn't want to sit up front and take namaskar. Then Swami walked up. He was walking down the veranda. He looked at me and said, "Hey, Ravi Shankar, come." And so he said, "Do namaskar." And again, he knew it was my birthday, I guess, and that's why he called me up front. And then he said, "You sent me a letter, and you wondered whether I received it." And Swami said, "As soon as you start writing, it comes to me." So the act of writing is so important. Even today, it's important that we not just think about things, but sit and write that letter, because this is what Swami said. Once you sit and write, your thoughts become more crystal, and the thoughts become more clear, and then you're offering it to him. Now, Swami doesn't need to sit and read the letters, because as soon as you start writing, it goes to him. So I tell this to all the Balavika students now. Swami is your friend, your guru, God. Just feel free to write to him, put a letter at his picture. By that process, that letters that he's holding in his hand, it'll go straight to him. And he's holding it near his heart. That's exactly where it goes. Here's another experience. You see the picture on the right. Swami is standing there. So one day, the graduating students asked Swami, Swami, we'd like a picture with you, please. This is a coveted moment for all graduating students, is to get a personal photograph with Swami standing next to him. And sometimes Swami would say no and then do it on some other day. That day, he said, okay, I'll come, I'll take pictures with you. So that's Brindavan lawn on the right side you see there. The left side picture is actually Kodaikanal and how Swami was standing there on a hillside. It was such a beautiful moment there. But I'm focusing on the right side picture here. And Swami then looked at me after he told the students that he'll take pictures. He looked at me and said, hey, Ravi Shankar, come, take pictures. And because I had the cameras and Swami would bless me to give me these chances to take pictures. Then he asked me a question that I'll never forget. He said, Ekkad Teeskundam, where should we take the picture? Now, that's a loaded question because who am I to tell the Lord where to stand and take a picture? And thankfully, I had the good sense at that time to say, Swami, Mire Chappandi. Swami, you please tell. Now, it was a journey to come to that stage of saying, at that time when he asks for you to say the right thing, which is, Swami, you tell. You put it at his feet. And I'll tell you another incident. This triggers another incident. Like I said, born and brought up here, family is always with Swami. We'd go from the US every couple of years. We'd spend months with Swami and then come back. So every 2 years we would do that. But when I joined in 1981 as a student, it was a whole different experience of being in his midst. Fast forward to my third year of BCom, or Bachelor's of Commerce. It was a 3-year undergraduate degree. And in those days, when I first joined Puttaparthi in 1981, it was part of Venkateswara University. The institute hadn't started yet. So this was June of 1981. It was part of a college, a part of the Venkateswara University system. And Venkateswara University used to have a annual scheme where you had a final exam once a year, and that would be your 100% of your marks. It was really very tough because if you fail that, you're out. That's it. You have to repeat the year. So you had to do assignments, you had to do quizzes, but none of those mattered because this is the board exams, they call it. So anyway, we were the last batch having these annual exams. Why I'm mentioning that is that at the end of my third year, we were doing a lot of seva and all of that, and I had a fractured wrist from my days here in the US, and I had a steel rod with screws installed there to hold it in place. And so when I joined in 1981, at the end of 1981, I was coming back to the US for holidays, and in Vrindavan, I went to take his namaskar, and then I asked Swami, the doctors are saying in the US, parents said that when I come for holidays, they'll do an operation to remove the steel plate and screws because I don't need it anymore. Swami looked at it and said, created some vibhuti, rubbed it on the hand and said, it's antabane untandi, don't do operation. For whatever reason, he's the divine doctor, so we follow that. So I came back and I told parents, and they said, yeah, no operation, you don't need to do anything. So it was fine. I do heavy work. Before that, whenever I did heavy work, it would balloon up with tendonitis, and I couldn't write or lift anything. But after his cure, nothing, no problems. Except in my third year, just as 1 week before the exams, we were doing some seva, and I woke up the next morning, and it was like a bubble, huge. And I couldn't move the hand, and this was my writing hand, exams coming up. And normally when that happened, it would take a few weeks for it to subside. And I can't write the exams, and I'll miss the whole year. Now, what happened was a few months before, and this is what's important, why I was saying that I had at the time when he asked me to take the picture, that I gave the right answer. It was a journey. Yes, I had the good sense when I joined to realize I'm here with the divine. But one thing is we always have to make an active effort to stay true and direct everything towards Swami. Otherwise, we tend to start not wavering, but we tend to lose that direction. And so what happened was a couple of months before this incident with the hand, I'd written a letter to Swami, and I don't know what got into my crazy head at that time, and I'm being 100% honest, open book here. I wrote a letter to Swami saying that, Swami, I'm finishing my bachelor's. What should I do? Now, instead of saying, what should I do? Or saying, Swami, I should stay here. Can I stay here? I wrote, Swami, should I stay here and do my master's? Or should I go back to US and do an MBA? Now, naturally, my family and parents never brought up coming back to US after living with Swami. Who's going to go back, right? So they never brought it up. But friends and others would say, oh, and honestly, devotees here would say, hey, now you're finishing your bachelor's, you can come back and do an MBA and all of that. Silly me. I wrote a letter like this, sat during darshan and gave it to Swami. Swami, with such a smile, took it. He already knows what's in the letter, but he still took it. And then after that, for 2 months, he did not look at me. He did not acknowledge me. If I was sitting here, he'd look the other way. If I sat there, he'd look this way. So it was total cut off for 2 months till I did my introspection and realized that you don't give an ultimatum to the Lord. You don't give choices. The better answer, or question that I should have written was, Swami, I want to be here with you. Or, Swami, tell me what to do. But don't give choices, multiple options. He's not the Lord taking a multiple choice test and we give multiple options to him. No. Let him lead us. And so that's why it's saying, as much as I was born and brought up in a family that was full Sai, and I joined there for a purpose to be with him, that one moment of writing a silly letter cost me 2 months of grace that I missed out, potentially. Now, not that he's always there, talking to me or whatever, but it was a great learning experience, because then it taught me, don't give ultimatums to the Lord. And not that I'm saying I surrendered to him, because surrender is a very big word. I mean, in the US, surrender has a negative connotation, but we're not talking about that surrender, which is negative. We're talking about leaving it to his will. But you have to do your best and leave the rest to him. So again, that morning, just before the exams, with my arm like this, after 2 months of him not speaking, imagine, what face do I have to go sit up front and ask Swami, my hand is giving me a problem? Now, my question was, do I even ask? Because first, he's angry with me, quote unquote angry with me. And secondly, do we ask Swami for things? Our grandfather always told us, never ask Swami anything, and in his presence, don't open your mouth. Now, here's a great learned scholar who would say, don't open your mouth in front of Swami, because you're limiting him. He would say you're limiting him. And so even, I remember many instances in the interview room, Swami would ask him, Subramanya Shastri, edana cheppu. He would, until Swami asked the third time, he would not open his mouth. Then only he'd ask some Vedic question, and then it was like a flood of conversation between the two. It was like watching a tennis match going back and forth, the conversation between the Lord and the sage here. But anyway, but ultimately I had also felt at that time I have to ask him, because exams are coming, my arm is all messed up. So he's Mother, Father, Guru, God. If he's going to shout at me again or ignore me, that's his will and wish. When I got to that point in my mind that it is his will and wish, and I sat up front, the door opened from the interview room door was 10 feet away. I was sitting there right at the first pillar. First thing he sees when the door opens is me. And so I thought, okay, he's not going to look at me after 2 months of not looking and actually avoiding. But then he looked at and he smiled and just came over with such love. It was just a flood of love. And then he said, Himi, what happened? And then I said, Swami, my hand, Naktil, so I know. I couldn't say anything. He just said, I know. Created some vibhuti, rubbed on it and said, it'll all be fine. He took 2 steps. After he asked me to do namaskar, then he took 2 steps away as he was going for darshan. Then he turned around and he said, "Ikkade undu, you stay right here. You don't have to go back to US." So he remembered after 2 months. He taught me that lesson. So again, going back to this picture, divinity is the permanent one. Everything else comes and goes. And so when he asked me, Swami, he said, "Ravi Shankar, ekkad teeskundam, where should we take this picture on the lawns?" I said, thankfully, through this journey of going through so much of mental change and acceptance, and again, I'm not going to use the word surrender, but because I'm nowhere near that stage yet, but acceptance, I was fortunate enough to have that good thought at that time and said, "Swami, you tell where to stand." Then he looked at me and gave that little wry smile, saying, "Okay, that's a good answer." And then he said, "Okay, let's stand there." And that particular spot was the best. From a lighting angle, you know how the sun is so bright in India. So lighting angle, everything was a perfect spot. So he stood there. So fast forward to students all lined up to take the pictures with him. And we had prepped all the students, do not waste his time. When Swami says, "Come and take pictures," quickly line up, go stand next to him, we'll take the picture and then you can go on. So that's what happened. The students did an excellent job. They came, stood next to Swami. Swami is standing there. They came, stood next to him, and then they went. Next person came and went, came and went. Then Swami was standing there. Then suddenly he said, "Stop, stop, stop. Agande, agande, agande." We thought, the way he said it so sternly, we thought that somebody had done something wrong. Again, we wasted his time or something. His devotees were waiting for darshan there. Then he looked and said, "Do you all," again, I'm telling it all in English, but he had mentioned all this in Telugu, but he said, "Do you all know, do you see what's happening here?" We didn't know. We were all kept quiet. Then he said, "See, everybody's coming, standing next to Swami and going, coming, going, coming, going. This is a lesson for you all," he said. God is permanent. He's always there for you. Everything else in this world comes and goes, comes and goes. What a lesson right on the lawns of Vrindavan while taking pictures. So this is something that I always keep in mind, that, don't go after everything. It is really go after the one true meaning. This is another instance where Swami was walking back from darshan in Vrindavan, and he stopped at a tulsi plant that was there, and he plucked some tulsi leaves, a little branch or a twig with 4 or 5 leaves on it. And he started walking back into the Trai Vrindavan area, and he told all the students to go in and sit. So they all sat there. And the beautiful moments with Swami for students was those sessions in the evening where Swami would finish darshan at the Sairam shed and then come to Vrindavan, Trai Vrindavan. And the front hall was a nice curved little hall where Swami's throne was there, or chair, and then all the students would sit around him. As soon as he walked into Trai, after the students were sitting there, he walked in and he was twirling the twig. But now Swami doesn't walk around twirling a twig of tulsi all the time, so we knew something is up there. So he stood there and he showed it. If you look at he sat in the chair and he held it up and said, "What is this?" Everybody said, "Swami tulsi leaf." So again, I had the good fortune to stand in the back, and I took this with Zoom. So that again, the lesson there is don't be obtrusive with Swami. You have to be always unobtrusive. So I'd be all the way at the back, but thankfully I had a good Zoom lens and a flash. And so I was able to take these pictures. So then he asked, "What is this?" And then everybody said, "Swami, it's a tulsi leaf." Then he said, "Is it?" And you can see on the top right, he put it in his hand and blew. And then on the bottom left, you'll see, if you could make that picture a little bigger, the tulsi leaf was enrobed in gold. So his breath is verily gold. So he showed it like this. Then he said, "Is this the same tulsi leaf?" And the student said, "No, Swami, it's all, it's a golden leaf." He said, no, no, no. Again, he blew on it, and the gold covering was gone, and back to the same tulsi leaf. Then he said, see? And then, so ultimately, he said that divinity exists in everything and everyone. So always treat others well. So it was a lesson for us that don't get enamored by what's outside. Go inside. Find that divinity in everybody. Like in the Prashanti quote that Brother Sai Baradev played just after this morning's bhajans. When you're going, look at others as limbs of your own body, right? If you can do that, then you're going to help them in the way, if you have a cut, you're going to get it fixed quickly. Again, if somebody's in anguish, go and help them. See, but all that comes only when you see that there's divine in everybody else. And that was the lesson here. Being around Swami was also a very fun experience, I would say. So many different experiences. And this one was, again, in Kodaikanal. Swami was standing and chatting with the students. And Radhakrishna Garu, who was very close to Swami and was Swami's, I would say, you can't say caretaker. It was like he was staying with Swami and looking after Swami's needs. And he was an alumnus of Swami's college, and also Swami selected him to take care of things there in the wherever Swami resided. So Radhakrishna Garu had this camera. This was an 8mm camera. It was very heavy movie camera. And this is the days before the video cameras. So then he was holding it and taking it, and Swami looked at him and said, hey, Radhakrishna, give it here. And Swami held it and said, it's so heavy, how can you carry this? So you can see Swami in that left side picture is holding it with 2 hands, because it was literally a very heavy camera. Everything is made of metal, not like plastic nowadays. It was a heavy metal camera. Then Swami looked at it, and it was the middle picture, you see that. And then the other picture on the right. So as he was looking, and I was taking all these pictures, and then in the middle picture, after he was looking through to see how it looks through the lens, he saw me taking a picture, and then he posed actually with the camera and said, take. And then just as I was again clicking the button, he flipped the camera to cover his face and blocked it. And he laughed. He said, hey, you missed it, see? So it was a nice, fun moment. And this is the divine. He is there with us for everything, happy moments, fun moments. It's not just all seriousness and sitting and meditating all day. Have fun with the Lord. He is there for us for that. Again, the informal side of Swami, just some nice pictures of him sitting and relaxing on a lawn chair, folding chair in Kodaikanal, and then on the right side, sitting on a parapet wall and just posing. And that picture there in the center is what I was telling you in Uti, where Swami is standing and watching the students chant. That's the divine. He's there behind the curtain watching everything. And that's what I take from these moments, that just because we don't see him physically doesn't mean he's not there. He's there behind the curtain, really, watching us all the time. So we have to be always in a mental and a heart situation. Our aspiration should be to be how we would be in his physical presence. Again, I said this is the yajna time, so some pictures of Swami during yajna. In the interest of time, I won't speak too much about all of these, but again, beautiful moments sitting inside Purnachandra Auditorium, watching Swami at the bottom right with the flames, the Veda Purusha sitting there, fabulous. Now, what's that picture of Swami throwing laddus on the right side got to do with the Veda Purusha? Well, our father is in the bottom center there, and our grandfather at the left side there in those pictures. So the laddus, once our father was coming back from either coming or going from in Delhi. He was posted in Delhi and we were living there, and he was on his way to a office trip. He was part of UNICEF and he was going to travel different countries. But but he wanted to go see Swami first. So this was, I'm talking about 1960s. So going to Puttaparthi in 60s was not a easy feat. So he flew from Delhi to Bangalore, and then from Bangalore he was supposed to go to Chennai and then fly out from there. And then, or correct me if I'm wrong, was it going out or coming back to India? Okay, it's one of those, either coming back from a trip or going. But the important thing was he landed in Bangalore, and then he got a car. So he started the journey in the morning, and then he landed in Bangalore, got the car, and in those days, a car ride to Puttaparthi was 8 hours. So it took 8 hours, and by the time he reached Puttaparthi, darshan was over, Swami had gone upstairs. And Swami and our father had come in, and when somebody said, okay, his darshan is over, he was very dejected because he wanted to have his darshan before he left. And he was walking away, and then suddenly somebody called, Subbarao Garu, come. Father's name is Ghandikota Subbarao. So Swami is calling you. So again, he didn't send word to Swami, and once Swami goes up to his room and closes the door, nobody can knock on the door and say, hey, Swami, somebody's there. That's it. You're done for the day. Swami knew that he came, and so you have to take that step. He took the step to spend 8 to 10 hours coming there. It's not always just for that, but this was his grace. And so Swami's in his room. Father, he called him up to his room. And our father was explaining to us how spare his Swami's existence was. It was just a simple wooden bed with a thin sheet on a thin cotton mattress and one small pillow that Swami had. Then there was a desk and a wooden chair, no padded chair, just a wooden chair. And that's it. That was Swami's room. And it was a very small room. The mandir, I'm talking about the Prashanti Mandir. Imagine it without the Kulwant Hall. Imagine it without all of that built around it. This was an old bungalow, basically. And most of the mandir, if you see it, is just a bhajan hall. Everything else is very small rooms. And so Swami's room upstairs was really small. So Swami asked her father to come and sit on the ground there, sat, and he started talking to him. And our father had that intellectual path to the divine. He studied in a Veda Pathshala. He would always buy books. Our basement in Long Island house was full of books that he accumulated over years. He took those to Puttaparthi and set them up in his flat there also. So Sanskrit books, spiritual texts, all these, so his path to the divine was through the Vedas, Shastras, and intellect. Our mother's path was, she grew up from a Vedic family, between her father and uncles and grandfather, and they're all Vedic. It was a Vedic family. She heard the Vedas growing up as a child. But her path was devotion. So Swami understood that with father, it was an intellectual path. So he started talking about the Vedas and some spiritual topics, which I don't know. And then father's mind, and this is our father was telling us all later, his mind was a little wavering because it was a long journey. He hadn't slept or gotten rest. He hadn't eaten or drunk anything because he did not want to stop anywhere. In those days, you can't just buy a bottle of water somewhere else. There's nowhere to stop. So he did not want to waste any time. So he made the journey. And so he was hungry, he was thirsty, his mouth was dry. So then Swami stopped talking about Vedas and said, here, Subbarao, take this water. He gave his own glass of water, asked him to drink. He drank. Then he said, what is your favorite sweet? And then he didn't even wait for the answer. He created a laddu. And that laddu, our father was telling, was warm and wet, as it was just made with it. And then he gave it to him, and then put it in his hand. And then he was about to eat, and then he remembered he was going to, family's back there, so he was going to take some and put it in his pocket in a handkerchief and then take it back. He said, no, you eat it right now. Because he's not going to be able to listen to what Swami wants to give him unless his mouth is dry and his stomach has something in there. So again, lesson for us. When we want to do something for others, make sure you feed them well, make sure they're content. don't talk to them about spirituality on an empty stomach, bottom line. Talking about this laddus and sweets, there was one lady we know in Puttavarthi, Channamma. She worked in our parents' house in Puttavarthi. And, when we first went to, our parents retired and went back to Puttavarthi, and they stayed in the ashram there. Grandfather at that time was bedridden. He had fallen and he was bedridden. And so it was 1985. And those days, somebody needed to help in the house. So this lady was helping with, laundry, and she was the daughter of Sakal Subbanna, which was, he was one of Swami's companions, but also a dhobi, did Swami's clothes also. Used to be a dhobi for Swami, or a laundry washer person. So she's the daughter of Sakal Subbanna, and she was working in our house. So she was telling this story once to me that Swami as a child, she would run around behind Swami. We're talking about the 50s, early 50s, 1950s. And she was a child running behind Swami, and she would say, see, as children, all devotees would come, but we didn't care about all these creations of Swamis and all. This is how she would talk. Their devotion is simple and direct. They said, we just wanted Swami. So again, they were not interested in idols, tinsel, and trash, as Swami would say. They were interested in Swami, so they run behind Swami. So it seems one evening Swami took devotees to the Chitravati sands, and he was creating things out of the sands and talking to the devotees. And afterwards, he saw all the kids standing in the back, these village children. And he asked, hey, Pillal Randi, what do you want? And he asked Channamma, what do you want? And she said, Swami, jalebi. I want a jalebi. Ah, okay, jalebi. Because she was saying, why jalebi? Because in those days, you would find it only when there was a village fair or you had to go to some other town. Then you could find jalebis. Otherwise, you would never find jalebi. And so she asked for jalebi, and Swami from the sands took out a jalebi and gave it to her. And she ate. And that is, this is a simple devotion. Went straight to that. In my own silly mind, I asked, Channamma, when he took it out of the sand, was it full of sand, the jalebi? Because it's a sweet, it'll get stuck. She said, Ravi, buddhile, don't you understand? Don't you have any sense? If he can create jalebi, why would he create jalebi with sand on it, right? So simple. That is the simplicity of devotion. Or sometimes our mind gets in the way of many things. So again, that's that picture of Swami, and that's Father, where Swami was talking about different Vedic things in a Parishad. Around the same time, the Sai Chakra, Swami inspired our Father to reveal the Sai Chakra. And similar to that picture there that I took of Swami and Father speaking, Father had once taken the Sai Chakra that he drew overnight after a dream. He drew it, and Swami took his hand and traced through all of the lines of the chakra to potentize it, as Father said. And that's the Sai Chakra here. So please take one at the end of the program today. I have them framed there for you. The picture of Swami reading Sanatan Sarati, that's very interesting, because now we say Swami is the Veda Purusha, so our Father had a inquiring mind. So once sitting in his hometown where grandfather was, Father asked grandfather, and he asked in a very humble way, not with arrogance, but he asked, Nana, you always say that every word that Swami says is Vedas. How can you prove it? Now he wanted to get the answer from a pandit who had the capacity to understand, and this is for posterity. So grandfather looked at him and said, okay. Just then the postman had come and delivered a Sanatan Sarti, Telugu Sanatan Sarti. Then he asked Father, bring the Sanatan Sarti. And Swami would always write an article in Sanatan Sarti. And so he said, look in there, look at one of Swami's articles, and take a passage from there, read it out, and tell me, and I will tell you where it's from. So he read out that passage that Swami wrote from that. And then so grandfather told him, go get this book that I have on my shelf, this particular book. Father brought it, gave it to his father, and then he went to that the page in that Vedic text and said, see, this is what Swami said in Sanatana Sarati, this is what's here. So grandfather had that capacity to be able to prove. Mathematicians always look for proofs. Well, here, this was the proof. Not that it needed any proof, but for people who have that intellectual bent of mind, Swami caters to that as well. So this is the Sai Chakra. I know we're running out of time. How much more time do I have? 10 minutes, okay. I did want to show you this picture of Mother. Now, Swami is a living and loving God, and he follows, when a yajna is done, he tells the priest to ensure the rituals are performed the way it should be performed from a Vedic standpoint. But the uniqueness of the Sai avatar is that he is the Veda Purusha. He's the one that gives us all of these rules, but he is also the one who is not bound by ritual or customs. And one thing that I can always say with our grandfather and father and parents was that they came from a traditional background, but they were modern and practical in thinking. And they brought us all. Arima is here, my brother. Ramesh is here too. And I'm sure you'll all agree with me that they never imposed anything on us, but they explained and made sure we understood what we needed to follow. Now, for a Vedic scholar at that level, a Ghanapati and above level, to follow a human being and say he is the divine is very difficult, honestly, because Pandits go after that sacred text. They're the ones that defend and carry on for generations the Vedic texts. And so for them to go after, when grandfather first saw Swami from a distance in East Godavari in the late 1950s, immediately he knew just the vision of the Lord to him was, he is divine. There was no question for him. Now, not all Pandits would have that revelation, maybe, is all the Lord has to give that. But for grandfather, he had that revelation that this is the Lord. And so he surrendered straight to him. In Mother's case, when our father merged into Swami in 2003, Sanjay had the good fortune to be there with father when he passed on, but brothers, four of us, Arima, Ramesh, Manohar, and myself, we were here in the US. So we immediately, when we heard that father had merged into the Lord, we had jumped on a flight that day itself, reached there a day and a half later. We raced into Prashantanilayam to the ashram. We went to the flat where Mother was. By that time, Mother she thought he was still in ICU and he had not left the body. And so she looked at us and said, why are you here? You all should go to the hospital and see your father. And we said, yes, we're going to go. We're going to go for darshan first. How could we tell her that he's gone, right? She didn't know yet. And Swami hadn't said, don't tell her anything until we came. And so we changed our clothes, took a shower and changed our clothes to white clothes and ran to darshan. And when we sat up front, Swami's interview room door opened and he called 5 of us straight to his door and we all surrounded him. He didn't ask us, how was your journey and what happened? Nothing. He said, Amma Kalaundi, how is Mother? I think all of us, whenever we used to visit her afterwards also, the first question Swami would ask us when we land and go for darshan is, Amma Kalaundi. It was all her, direct one-to-one. And so that day, we're all on our knees around Swami. And in the photo, you see a Mother. She has a bottu, red bottu, and she has gold bangles. So this is about 7-8 days after Father had merged into Swami and Swami had called us in for an interview. No, it's 3 days, sorry, this was 3 days afterwards. And we hadn't finished all the rites yet. Now, in India, when somebody passes away for those days, you're not supposed to go anywhere or touch anybody, go to a temple. With Swami, there's nothing of that, number one. Secondly, he called us in because he wanted to console Mother. And that day when we first came in and stood around Swami at the door of the interview room, Swami looked at us and said, Idi tiyaddu. Don't remove this, the botu, and don't remove the bangles. She is Nitya Sumangli, keep her like that. From a Vedic family, what they would have done would be you have to wear white clothes, white sari, you have to, it's a whole different process. But no, Swami said no. Then Mother was telling us, after father passed away, even people in Puttaparthi, those people she knew, because she would never go anywhere. And she was always darshan and back to the room. And she would be sitting there, and then people would say, oh, Subbarao is gone now, so are you going back to live with your sons in the US now? That's what the first question out of people's minds were. In this interview where Swami called, he looked at her and said, Nu ekirki verlakhala, you don't need to go anywhere. I will guard you like the eyelid guards the eye. And he did that. But what's important here was he kept her the way she should be. And he said, I will take care of you. And he said about going back to US, people saying, and people would ask us when we were there, oh, you've all come now, are you going to take your mother back? Now, why would we take our mother back? She's living with the Lord. Who's going to take her out of that presence? But again, this is Maya, right? This is the mind of, I'm not going to blame anybody. It's us, it's individuals. But that's why we have to always be true and make a conscious effort to stay true to the Lord and what He's taught us. So he said, he told her, she was literally unconsolable, crying for the days that we were there, always crying, because they were married for over 60 years. And she got married at the age of 12, moved to the husband's house only at the age of 16, and never went back home, never stayed in the parents' house after that. So her life was with her husband and family. So what Swami told was, you and Subbarao are like two twigs or branches that fall in a river. You all have traveled independently. Then you came together and got intertwined, and you continued the journey together. Then afterwards, he left. You separated and he left, but you are still there, and your goal is into the ocean, into the divine. So your path is individual. So what's important is that our path to Swami is one-to-one. It is not dependent on others. You and I don't go to darshan because our friend is there. We don't go there to see Ravi's face. You don't come here to this talk to look at my face. You shouldn't. It is for Swami. And we do everything either to him and to get near him. And that's the lesson I took from that. And it was a blessing for her to hear that the Lord is there for her, and she is not dependent on somebody else to reach the divine. I remember, Sanjay and I, we gave a talk, and I'm just sharing very frankly here, we gave a talk in Austin, Texas once, and I mentioned this experience. And there was a group of ladies, elderly ladies, who came afterwards, and they said, we're so happy you mentioned this, because we always were tied to our husbands. And now we know, and not that it was there for us to tell them, but they felt comforted that this was the method. Again, our Swami telling our mother and us standing around and hearing it is for us to share with everybody that we are all have a direct heart-to-heart path with the Lord. And that's the important thing the uniqueness of this Sai avatar is that it's a one-to-one living and loving God to this day. I think I've already crossed my time, so I'll stop. I'll run through in 1 minute the rest of the pictures that I have. This is an important picture because, and I'll mention very quickly, you may have seen this picture before, but this is a picture Swami materialized. Once grandfather in Puttavarthi was asked to give a speech, this is 1960s, where he was one of the founding members of the Prashanti Vidwan Mahasabha. And Swami asked grandfather to give a speech to the assembled audience during Dasara. And he gave a speech and he spoke about all the deities. And then at the end of the speech, Swami, after everything was over, Swami had called him for an interview. And at that time he said, Subramanya Shastri, you forgot to mention one deity. And he said, who could I? He said, Ni Ishtadevata, just Shiva, your form that you always worship. And then he waved his hand and created that photograph, saying, this is my true form, Sai Shiva. And there's an article about this on the Sai Darshan website, saidarshan.org, so have a look at it. But I've got photos of, replicas of that photo here, so please do take at the end of this. So again, a very unique picture that Swami had given. This is a Shiva. I had the good fortune in 2002 to be there for Lingodbhavam, Swami creating the linga. And so this is Swami sitting there. For top left, he's sitting there, bhajan's going on, the lingam starting to form. Top right, his lingam, the lingam coming out, and then he's holding it. And I was sitting hardly distance between Swami and me was distance between me and you guys, probably a little closer. And so I was able to zoom straight into the lingam to get close-up shots. And you'll wonder, why is it all dented like that? Well, once the lingam came out, it actually flew out, landed on the desk, and then fell down on the ground, and somebody picked it up. So probably during that process, or I don't know, maybe that's how it came out, I don't know. But that's the lingam that he created. Then he walked around and showed this lingam to everybody, so I was able to capture some of these. This is another instance in 1990, summer course, Vrindavan, Swami created a lingam again. So again, there you can read up about the importance. This very picture is of Swami. I have a picture of that, so please take it. And I'll just tell you the meaning here is, this was taken October, I remember it distinctly, October 20th, 1990. That's the 50th anniversary of Swami's declaration of avatarhood. October 20, 1940, Swami is when he declared, I am Sai Baba. So the devotees from Andhra had built this nice throne, and in the shape of a Seshasai. And so they put it in the bhajan hall. You can see Swami's picture in the back. This is the same picture you have here. And they kept it there. And I was fortunate to be one of the two photographers there, and the other was Radhakrishna Garu. And all the devotees asked, Swami, please sit on the throne. And he said, no, I'm not sitting. Yeah, Swami doesn't do things he does things to please people, but when he chooses. Then after a few minutes of asking about different things, suddenly he just got up and sat down. And again, like I said, always be ready. So I was always ready to make sure I could. So he sat for all of probably 2 seconds and smiled. And he's actually not looking at me, he was looking at Radhakrishna Garu, who was just standing next to me. And he took the picture and I took this picture. And then I was so happy that I was able to capture the Lord on the throne like this. After that, all the photographers outside and people were saying, give me the negatives, I want this. I said, never, I'm not giving you this. I just made hundreds of these, gave it to Swami, and he distributed it. But it's there for all of us. But again, that's the story behind this. So please take one as you go. I won't get into it. There's a lot more to talk about, maybe some other day, but these are pictures of Swami during Narayan Sevas and how he taught us how to serve. He called us once into an interview before going to do village seva and a village survey and told us how to he held his hands like this and said, bend down and ask the people what they want. He didn't say just go and do seva. First prepare, find out what they need and give them what they need. Don't give what you think they need. So He said, go with humility, with your head bent down. He was very clear. Then he said, one thing, I'm sorry I'm going on, but just one other thing is gratitude. One thing is passion and gratitude, two important words here. We have to have the passion for seva. A lot of times people say, well, we're doing it for others, and having that grandiose thought, without really feeling it, is a problem. So to do seva properly, I feel, again, I'm not here to lecture anybody, but I feel is you have to have a passion for it. You have to have an attachment that these people are your people. Otherwise, we'll never do what they need. We'll do what is convenient for us. And that is what I saw with Swami, living with him for 11 years, is the passion Swami had to take care of everybody. He would make sure that when food is being served, the curd rice is kept in one spot, the sambar rice is kept in another spot and not commingling there. That particular seva, Swami was walking up and down. There are at least 25, 30,000 people sitting there in the stadium there. You'd walk up and down. When you're serving so many people, you're automatically not going to serve well, where a little curd rice falls a little bit on the sambar rice, which falls a little bit on your sweet rice. No, that's not the way Swami expects. And Swami would shout at the students, shout at us. I've been at the receiving end of that by not being careful and spilling a little buttermilk on the floor or putting the curd rice a little too close to the other. No, it has to be done perfectly for everybody, because it is Swami serving, not us. So we are representing him. So his life was his message. And so he taught us how to serve, how to bow down to people, and told us, when you go to the villages, ask them what they want. We thought, okay, and he told us, you're not coming back to the ashram, and I won't let you in until you come back with a list of items they want. This was during 60th birthday before the Grama Seva, 6 months before. He sent us to 200 villages to do a survey. And in that time, we thought, okay, why is Swami saying he won't let us back if we don't come with a list? Who in their right mind would not ask for items when you go to a village that doesn't have anything? Do you want water? Do you want a road? Do you want a school? That nobody will say no. But all these people said no. They said, Swami has already given us everything. We don't need anything. Swami has visited us 20 years ago and given us this idol, or he's built this school, or we had darshan 2 years ago, so I don't need anything else. Imagine, they're not ready to ask Swami for anything. I'm ready to always keep asking for things, but no. So gratitude is a very important feeling that we learned from that. And there are many instances where devotees came up, whether it was in the St. Mary's Cathedral in Trenton when we did seva, or in a village where we did seva all day. People come and they look at us, and they literally would, when we went to some of these villages, they'd literally come and touch us, touch our faces and say, you have come from Swami. So we are his messengers, and we have to live up to that. And we were filled with humility at that point, because who are we to do anything? He'll get it done with us, without us, or in spite of us. It'll get done. So our job is to do it in the best way possible. And these people, when we went to these villages, they had nothing, mud huts, dusty villages, but they would give us, they'd say, you came all the way. Seeing the white clothes first, they ran away thinking we're politicians. Then afterwards they came, we came as Swami's students, they came running out, literally touched us, our faces, hands, just to touch somebody who has touched the Lord. That's what they felt. Imagine. Then they said, we cannot let you go without taking something. So they gave us a ragi bowl. Now, that's taking food out of their mouth, because that's all they have the whole day to eat is one ragi ball with a little pachmirapkai chutney, which is that chilies chutney, and groundnut chutney. That's all you get in those areas. How could we take their food? They had nothing. But to be polite, we took one ragi ball, and between the 8 of us, we shared it and ate, just so that they don't feel that there's a separation between us and them. Then, after asking him humbly so many times, then only they would give an answer of what they needed. Then we realized that's why Swami said, I'm not letting you back unless you come back with a list of items. Then before leaving, they said, we have to give you a sweet, but we don't have sweets. We're very poor. So they brought, one old lady came with a jar, glass jar with a rusted iron top, opened it, and it had sugar in there, only just a little bit of sugar. And they'd all collected it, and they said, here, have some sugar. You've come to our place after so long, Swami has sent you, we have to give you a sweet. Imagine, that is the tender-heartedness of the simple people who are ready to give anything because we are associated with the Lord. Just like in that picture, the Lord is standing there, everything comes and goes. He's the one, we're the zero. That we immediately felt, we're the zeros, because it is only because of Swami. And so yes, they gave us little grains of sugar and we ate it. And they gave us water. Imagine, that's how that element of gratitude, I always pray in the night that, Swami, make sure I never lose that sense of gratitude to you, because who knows what my mind is going to do. So always have that sense of gratitude. These are again some instances, I don't have time for that, but important lessons. Swami is always there for me. Have faith and surrender. Always find opportunities to serve, but also make the effort to be a worthy instrument. That's really critical. Do your best in anything that you do and leave the rest to Swami. Cultivate that dearness to Swami, and then finally adjustment, which is secret of happiness. Swami has clearly said is not doing what one likes, but liking what one has to do. Then we're always happy, right? This picture is in Kodaikanal I took, and Swami is looking straight there. So Swami is always with us, and this is a beautiful poem that he wrote in one of his letters to students. The bird with you, the wings with me, the foot with you, the way with me, the eye with you, the form with me, the thing with you, the dream with me. So are we free, so are we bound, so we begin and so we end. You and me and I and you. So beautiful, right? I want to end with this. This is, at the end of our third year of bachelor's, Swami had called our class in for an interview before we left, the coveted interview, to tell what to do and give us advice and spend time with him. Nobody wanted to leave. So for some students, Swami said, yeah, you go and help your parents in your agricultural lands or shop. Others, he said, you go do medicine. Somebody else, you go and do this. And for others, he said, you can continue. Thankfully, I was one of those. I continued, did my master's there. But then at the end, everybody said, Swami, we don't want to leave. How can we leave you? He said, then he waved his hand and created 44 of these visiting cards. And I always keep it in my wallet. And he said, here's my, and like a businessman, he said, here's my visiting card, have it. And you can see him, he's handing it out there. And he said, I am always with you. So that is the lesson for us. Swami is always there with us. We just need to open up our heart to let him in there, that's all. And then I'll end with this last few pictures of Swami in Trai Vrindavan. The way Trai Vrindavan Hall is, Trai Vrindavan is like a lotus, and it has rooms all around the perimeter, and the central hall is empty. And at the top is this balcony. And so Swami would always, after he finishes the evening program, he would stand there and he would talk to students. And so there's pictures of him smiling, and then he would wave and say, okay, students, go back to the hostel. So I thought I'd put a waving picture there. So thank you all. I'm very sorry I exceeded in the time limits there. I think I should learn how to stick to my limits. But I'm ever grateful to Swami for the opportunity to recollect him and the love he's given. And hopefully I've given you a taste of some of that love, and it's all for us to share. And I've shared some of these pictures, so please do take whatever you'd like. Thank you once again. And I pray that Swami blesses us with that good buddhi to stay true to his words. Jai Sai Ram.
Such a beautiful talk. Such a beautiful talk. Brother Ravi, that was such a beautiful photographic journey you took us through. You not only took the pictures, but you also have a photographic memory to narrate the whole incident, in such great detail. Feels like we saw a movie there. We just, were with you in that journey, imagining Swami. It feels like it's just now it happened. So it's amazing. Thank you for sharing such beautiful insights of Swami. And I also want to say, you definitely live the things that he has taught you. And we see that as your fellow, devotees who are in the same journey. And I remember when Professor Anil Kumar Garu came here, he loves you so much, by the way. He was staying with you, and I remember very vividly that during the inauguration, as you are constantly watching how he is doing, constantly. It was a winter time, it was very cold, and you want to make sure that whenever he takes his gloves off, keeps it somewhere, you want to make sure that he's not forgetting, pick it up, and then hold his hand. If he getting out of the car, from there to the door, what's the distance? And we had to go to a church there. So you were so dedicated in always thinking about him. And then later on in life, we saw you are thinking about people all the time, like the open market seva you're doing and everything. So I think it is such an inspiring talk today, taking us through that journey. Yeah. And the humility that he shows through, he just says, he's disclaiming all the credit, giving it back to his parents, for those who can't hear. Yes, Swami teaches how to serve. But anyway, thank you for sharing such a beautiful, teachings of Swami, so valuable. And coming from a person who's actually practicing it, it is definitely inspiring. And thank you for sharing all that. Thank you, Brother Ravi. This recording is going to be there for the posterity, for everybody. With that, I request Brother Venkat to please come and felicitate our Brother Ravi. You both belong to the same center, Sai Center. Please. No. This is our custom to do it. Kindly accept it.
Yes, we're neighbors.
Very appropriate. And Brother Ravi, kindly give the Arati now, if you can.
Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Swami Satya Sai Hare Bhakta Jana Samrasha Bhakta Jana Samrasha Pati Maheshwara Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Sasivadana Shikara Sarva Pranapate Swami Sarva Pranapate Ashita Kalpalatika Ashita Kalpalatika Avadana Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Mata Pita Guru Deva Mariyan Swami Mare शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति